All right, welcome everybody to another edition of our Gun Channel's coaching show that we have started doing a while back, and we're continuing to do it. So we've got Clover joining us from Texas. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, good to be here.
All right, so I do apologize to everybody. I keep setting this thing up, and I keep thinking, oh, I've got this all planned out. I'm going to set this up for 7 a.m., and I'm going to figure this all out. And then I wake up at 8 a.m., and it's all messed up. So thanks to Clover and everybody who's joining us live for your patience with me messing up the times consistently with the start time here. But aside from that, I was talking about. I don't know if we had this thing set up last week or not. I don't think we had a topic set up. So I knew I needed to set up the show. And last night we were talking about uh, different platforms and things. And we had kind of already been talking about that stuff here. So I thought, we haven't done over here ever, I don't think, is channel audits. So I know Clover knows how to do them. And I don't know if you're interested in doing them in the morning or not. But I thought we'd offer that as maybe once in a while, not every month, and maybe once a month. I don't know, see what kind of response we get. But we're calling it project audits instead of channel audits. I know, Clover, when you were doing your show on Thursdays for a long time there,
Yeah.
kind of a workshop show, you would do on the regular channel audits for people on YouTube, taking a look at their stuff and whatnot. But I just like to expand that to projects because, of course, we've got crowdfunding, we've got different social platforms out there, we've got websites, and then everything else that I can't think of that people might be doing and want some insight on. And we're experts on everything, so we can help you with everything. So if you've got something you'd like us to take a look at, otherwise, if that's something you're interested in to get us started, do you have any ideas of something we could look at that would be a good example project or a good example of what to do or not do?
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of them out there.
For sure.
Just pick I don't know, pick a channel, pick a thing.
One way to start it, I think, is to go top down instead of bottom up, and that would be start looking at things like NRA, Colt, Smith and Wesson. The big names, the big iconic entities out there.
Mhm.
See what they're doing right or wrong. I don't know if you've ever done anything like that before.
I haven't, but they're in a totally different space. But I mean, so I understand. I mean, it could be beneficial to see what they're doing, but it's not going to be surprising to pull them up and go, they're not really doing worth a crap with this.
Yeah, and it's.
But they
I
don't.
think
But
that's
they
where
don't. They don't lean into it. I mean, if you're a creator, right, or whatever, then I mean, you're leaning into it. And the business, that's just a secondary, on the side presence type thing for them.
Well, and when you're individual owning your channel, you can
True.
decide what you're going to do. When you've got a
Yeah.
committee and a crew and you're just tasked with this as a employee, you don't have that same, and you might do something and then find out,
Right.
well, that's the last thing I did for this company,
The
and that's frustrating. And then the next person's going to be plain toast from that on.
yeah, the creativity becomes stifled, I think, in a situation like that, right? If you just,
It can be for sure, right?
these companies are probably farming out their social and their most of them do. They farm it out. Um, or it's an inside employee, but either way, it's farm. It's not the owner of the company that's posting and doing it. So, you know, you lose a lot of the passion, you lose a lot of the creativity, there's a lot lost in that translation when you're talking about a big company.
We've got Colt is, unless somebody starts, a lot of people out there joining us. Let's take a second and say thanks to the people joining us live. Again, I didn't do the start of the show very well, so kind of screwing around with people here, but Worthwhile Fun was out there earlier. Anne Marie, welcome. And us, 500 Magnum is out there, it looks like, and Gear Report is out there. So, again, if somebody has an idea of something they'd like us to take a look at, evaluate or whatnot, feel free. But I mentioned Colt, so I just typed in Colt to a search engine, just a single word Colt, just to see what comes up. And Colt, pretty iconic, pretty worldwide known name, influential in the guns for a long, long time with lots of different things. The AR-15, the 1911, just to name a couple, right? Not even to mention the Pythons and everything else. So, you type in Colt and you get the Wikipedia because it's a large enough, I guess, a common enough search phrase that there is a Wikipedia on it, and they're going to give you that. Most search engines are going to try to attempt to get you what you might be looking for, information, since they can't tell from just a single word what you might be looking for. Notice the first thing's an ad. So that can be interesting and can be a shortcut to the top for a lot of people. And a lot of people look at paying for spots as a way to accomplish some things that are way more difficult to do without dollars, without payment. First thing in the list is Colt. Kind of makes sense. They've been around for a while. Like Clover said, they're probably not too worried about things, but at the same time, it's easy enough to task a department with whatever we put on the website, you make sure that it works on the internet, which is essentially what you would tell a department if you just wanted to make sure your website wasn't going to work against you online. Do you think that they're efforting with their SEO, or do you think they're Colt and they don't need to? Like, do you think they're going to be at the top of the search engine because they're Colt, or do you think that they're actually doing stuff to make sure they're there?
That's a good question. I'm sure there's a certain amount that gets put into it. You know what I mean? I don't know that they just spend a ton. I mean, with the name recognition and, as you build authority over the years, it becomes less and less and less important. Unless you're talking about, generally speaking, with general traffic, I should say. When you start getting into specifics of models and new models and things like that, yeah, there's some tweaking that's definitely going to have to be done. But yeah, they can ride a pretty good wave just on name recognition, I would think. But I'm sure whoever they're paid.
Think of all the people that link to Colt.
Yeah. I'm sure the people that are paying, or they have in-house as their job description or whatever. I'm sure they're doing some SEO stuff when they tweak on the website and work with this or work that. It's just too easy. We've talked about websites before, and so things like Yoast or whatever, for example, with the WordPress plugin and things like that, make your SEO a little less tedious, I guess. I don't want to say easy.
And things don't change, so you don't get to just win search engine. You can do well, and then if you just stop for a minute, you're gonna have people pass you by.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna click a backlink checker, which is a thing you can do to check a website's rating or whatever. So they've got a 70% rating or a 70 rating out of 100, 110,000 backlinks, 3,000 linking websites. So that gives you an idea of one end of the spectrum there. What's something that's more, I don't know, should we go to another thing like a Smith or like a entity that we're aware of, or should we go to a content?
I would love to compare some type of a smaller company. I'm trying to think of one because there's Colt.
High Point?
Yeah. Yeah.
High Point's a little different because High Point is a thing. It's a phrase. Like High Point is more than just the name of that company. Trying to remember what High Point even would mean, but you can use that for other words. Those are two words next to each other. So again,
yeah, but the backlink is what I was getting. I'm wondering what that looks like for a smaller company.
So we've got the same kind of situation. Their Wikipedia is over here. They're large enough for that. An eBay ad at the beginning for holsters. That's interesting. And then High Point right there gets right into Wikipedia and other things. So we'll do the same thing. We'll take their website address. If I can grab it. High Point Firearms. What do you think of addresses with dashes in them like High Point?
I don't like the dash thing. I mean, I get once upon a time that was almost an absolute necessity, but
couldn't get around it for a while. But yeah, it's frustrating because it's so easy to miss it. Yeah. What's it called again? I gotta find it in my giant list of stuff here. Backlink checker. There it is. And now we'll put High Point into one here and check its backlinks. Now this isn't like the only thing you're going to want to use, but it's just a way we can compare. So with a domain rating of 47, they have 22,000 backlinks and 1,000 sites that make those links. So in other words, there's 1,300 websites that the internet thinks are useful that offer 22,000 links back to High Point. Gun Digest comes up as a page with a 62 rating that links back. GunUniversity.com. High Point Firearms linking to themselves. Dang, that counts. Wikipedia, 96. So, Colt a 70, High Point a 47, Gun Digest a 62, somewhere between. Wikipedia 96. So you think that helps to be on Wikipedia?
Right.
Look how, when you look at web, I don't know, I think that these referring pages are in some kind of order here, I think. So, having Wikipedia right there, I think it means something, but I'm not sure. I don't know if you can sort by this. I'm not an expert on this tool. This is just a tool. We're using like a magnifying glass. We're not experts. We're just holding a magnifying glass up in a way and saying, hey, look at this angle. Look at this angle. Plus, I'm trying to sneak in some awareness of how the internet really works to everybody here.
Right.
So now we've got two up there. We got Colt and we've got High Point that we can use as like a bracket for interest. And we can do this as many times as we want. So you guys out there who are listening to this show, and there are a couple of you out there, feel free to be part of the show. So we're 10 minutes in. We usually go for an hour or so. If you've got an idea of something you'd like us to take a look at, if it's your channel or if it's another channel, let us know. What we're doing here isn't too personal. I don't think anybody would care. This is a pretty an open thing anybody could do. So it's not like we're being too, what's the word? We're not messing up people's privacy here, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all public.
Tools. And these kind of tools are happening every day by robots. That's how we know our websites are working or not, as robots are constantly checking us and they're constantly moving our ranks around and stuff.
Yep.
So anyway, should we do ours? That way people get comfortable. We'll do gun websites, the main channel.
We can. Yeah.
So if I type in gun websites as 2 words, I'm usually do it that way. Let's see what happens. Then I get guns.com and a bunch of other stuff that ain't me, a bunch of other stuff that ain't me, and a bunch of other stuff that ain't me, because it's just describing websites as guns, websites with guns in them. Yeah. So I got to go first, I guess. I'm DuckDuckGo. You click next, and that's the first 10 or whatever. So I'm like 15, whatever this is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 16 out of however many. I guess I didn't look at what the search results were.
You could probably bracket that, but I said when you bracket your search terms, but most people don't do that.
What do you mean? Put like a literal bracket?
Yeah, put them in semicolons or put them in or whatever, or put
And then it's going to find more specific things with a gun and a space and a website's the words instead of a descriptor. The problem is that the description is like if somebody wanted to make a list of like, hey, here's a bunch of gun websites, which is, I don't know, good or bad, whatever. I'm fighting that. I'm also catching some of that. I don't know if I'm winning or if I'm losing because of that. So we'll go over to here and then we'll pop open. You know what? I can just go over here. And isn't there a way to just, oh yeah, we can, or maybe not. Just go to I know where it is now. It's down here somewhere.
I know my website's going to be horrible with that backlink checker. It being newly built.
Really?
It should be. It's probably.
I just went through and looked at everybody's for the network. So
it's just not. I mean, there's a lot of little things I need to tweak.
Oh snap! I'm 47 with High Point and 141,000 backlinks from only 179 sites. So that's a lot different.
That's Colt level backlinks, isn't it?
Oh snap! Now I blow Colt away with backlinks. It turns out. So the thing is, that's not surprising. It shouldn't be surprising if anybody is paying attention. I used to be bigger. I don't know if I'm bigger anymore, but I used to be bigger than NRA, every gun entity. I was bigger than anybody except for Nut and Fancy and FPS Russia for a long time. And then when Hickok shot the pumpkin, I quit and everything changed. I went on the road and got messed up. So for a long time I was giant. And that's when I was like, hey, wait a minute, we got more power than we think here. We're bigger than the companies out there. And I wasn't the only one. I mean, I was just a person doing stuff on YouTube with a bunch of other people. Right. I started to look around. I used to have a spreadsheet. I don't know if I can find it anymore because I have to find what hard drive it's on. But I would go through and do stuff like this because I was a web guy. It's what we do is look at numbers like this to judge where we're at and how we're doing. You look at these numbers and you look at these numbers next week and you look at them, or next month, I mean, and you look at them again the month after that, and you've got a trajectory. You know if you're doing the right thing or not. So looking at these numbers is a metric. It's an analytic to know if your work is working. So anyway, these these are lower than they used to be for sure, but they're I'm not complaining. So Clover Tack, let's see what Clover does, and he's complaining that his site doesn't work right now.
Oh, I was just talking about all the scores on the backlink. Probably ain't going to be great right now.
Well, but the backlinks, so backlinks are people that link to Clover. Clover could take his site down and put it back up 7 times a day, and those sites still link to him.
I guess so.
Now, if they link to Clover Tack /
well, run me through the search first, just like you did with you.
Okay. If they go to Clover Tack / this page, and you delete that page, now they're heading to a dead page on your site, and that might affect something. So if you change your site dramatically, you could mess it up. So let's see. So 28 and 2,000 backlinks. So we're used High Point, a massive company in Colt, largest in the industry, to check it with. But when we start checking it with other folks of similar size, we're going to see where Clover's at. So that gives us another bracket. So a domain rating of 25. Let's get the and or 28, and then 2,000 backlinks. What do you think this do follow thing is all about? I don't know what that is. Total number of unique domains linking: 80% do follow, 91% do follow, 98% do follow, and 60% do follow.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't either. So, okay, report saying we can do his site. Thank you for that. All right, so we've got 28% here, or 28 rating. I don't really know what the rating is, a percentage or not. I'm going to call it that all day. You got 60% do follows on 21,000 or 2,000 backlinks, and then a 73% do follow on linking sites. And that's higher than mine, higher than High Point, and higher than Colt. So whatever
on
that
what?
is, on the do follows for linking websites. So it might be something where if it's a follow back, like if you link to them and they link to you, if that's what that's suggesting, it's going to be really difficult for Colt to link to 3,000 sites. So you can link to 33 sites really easily, right? Now, if you only link to 20 of them, it's not as good as if you link back to 33 of them, I guess. If I'm understanding that correctly. So let's take a look at who's helping Clover. You got Gunstreamer at a page 40, a rank of 40.
Wow, that's interesting.
Right? You got Professional Outdoor Media with a rank of 42. You got Domains, whatever this is, at 61. Do you know what Domains TNT code is?
Mm-mm.
It's got a 61, so whatever it is, it's helping you. Patch Buyer's Guide, you're welcome. A little tiny 11 hitting you. That's one of my sites, throwing pictures of Clover's patches up there. You got Jukesy, which I'm guessing is
full 30.
Yeah, right. The new full 30. That's just their slot over there with a 29. You got a 52 from Utreon. So how many of these are Clover created himself by creating content and putting it there to point back to himself, right? Like every single one of these ones are yours that you've created. Rumble, New Hampshire Gun Forum. Did you know you're on the New Hampshire Gun Forum?
Oh, wow.
BAA. It's only got a 5, but it's interesting. And now if you were to pay attention to this tool, you might go over to the New Hampshire Gun Forum, you know the topic now, and say, hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for blinking to me over here. Something called Shooter-Computer. That seems creepy, but it's in there. 0 page rank because it sounds goofy, right? Something .computer. Do you know what this is?
Nope. And that may be the fake site that's all grotesque. It is.
Oh shit! So
out of there,
what the fuck, dude. This
is
I've
got a hater. Yeah, I've got a hater. Yeah.
Oh well, that's nice because you can take legal action for that. I would definitely encourage you to take legal action. I know a couple of lawyers, and if you'd like some contacts for that, let's do a show on taking legal action for people messing with you, thinking they can do anything they want.
Let's do it.
That'd be interesting. I didn't know you had somebody messing with you like that, dude.
Yep, that's been that way for a long time now. They used to. They're blocked from the channel, but yeah, they used to post that link all the time in comments and stuff. But
yeah, guess what? People think that shit's anonymous until you get the police looking for you or the FBI or whoever, especially when you're using vulgar ass shit. So
yeah, that's pretty gross.
Take them down. Website detection. I don't know what that's all about, but it's something. I figured this was a scam because of the URL. So you can just tell from.
I
I
couldn't
didn't know what it
remember
was.
the
I could tell from
URL.
the
Yeah,
URL.
no, I couldn't remember the URL that they used for that. But yeah, it's water under the bridge. I've done forgot about it. But if you think there's legal action, I'm open to that conversation with some
Oh
folks.
yeah, and I'm sure we can get somebody to do it just to get some coverage.
Like I
because we
don't
got
have.
better backlinks than their legal site does.
Yeah, I don't. You know, I've got a bunch of money to pay a lawyer for that. That's why I just kind of blowed it off and ignored it.
Okay, so no follow are links that a site marks so that search engines will not give authority to the links. Thanks for that. So do follow links tell the search engine that the site is okay with lending their authority to that link as a recommendation. Okay. All right, so that was Clover's, and now we're going to dig into Gear Report, Gear Dash Report.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a regular Gear Report without the dash? I'm assuming not, because Steph would already own it, right?
I don't know.
Oh, you know what we didn't do is type in Gear Report into the search engine. That's what we're going to do. So,
You didn't do Clover Tag either.
oh, I didn't. Okay, let's do Clover Tech then.
I should dominate.
If I put Clover Tech together, that's cheating. So I'm going to put it separate because I got to fight with all the Clovers out there and the tags. Boom, number one. And this is, I go to his site all the time, so this is cheating. But it's not really cheating because I'm still typing in the search engine. I think it definitely listens to everything you've already done before. And if you type them together, you get even more. It goes website, YouTube, Patreon, Amazon, YouTube, Facebook, Podbean, gun channels. You're welcome. CPTC, CP, whatever that is. Clover Park Technical College. I didn't know you had a technical college. Dang,
Right.
dude. This ain't even nothing.
That's actually a new one. I don't know that I've ever seen that pop up. That's weird.
Yeah, and it comes up under the Clover Tack together. Super interesting. So if I separate them, this one doesn't tell me how many things, but anyway, website, YouTube, IMDb. What?
That's some other thing.
Come on. I didn't know you had a movie.
No, it's not.
Credits 100 yen, the Japanese arcade experience. So Clover, when he used to go to Japan and spend hundreds of yen on video game machines, made a documentary about it in 2012. Didn't tell anybody about it, and it's on in the book.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
You can go figure out what this is, dude. Capitalize on it. At least watch that movie. Here.
Right.
100 yen. I don't know why it's saying Clover Tack. That must have been somebody involved in it.
So yeah, there's
shooting games.
Yeah, I've known for a long time. Even when I picked that name, there was like a Japanese game, something related thing with that, but it's got a dash.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So it's literally somebody's playing video games and they go by that name. That's like their handle.
Apparently,
anyway, so then your Amazon, your Facebook, probably that guy. I'm guessing because of all the Chinese characters, and then your YouTube. So let's look at it that way. Website first, YouTube, website, YouTube, Amazon, Facebook. You think that that's an indication of the presence or the power on the search engines?
Yeah,
because I didn't even pay attention.
That's weird because that's also kind of the ones that I would want to push to the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. No attack. I thought it was finding me before. The only main ones. All right, so let's do gear report. I'm going to type it without the dash and see what happens first. Gear report goes right to them first. Then you got their store. And then you got some archives. Then you got the YouTube. And then you got the YouTube. And then you got TJ's stuff. You pretty much own the first 9 or whatever, 8 out of the first page. Now, if you put the dash, I'm assuming it's just going to get even better. Weird. You still get this weird elementary guide to gear inspection in there. But otherwise, everything is yours. Oh, now you got that gear inspection report. So if you got somebody messing with you like this, like there's a gear inspection report and your gear report, are you making articles that say inspection just to mess with them and grab those? Or are you wasting your time by getting something that's definitely people that are looking for something else, and now you just bothered everybody and wasted your time because it's not a good ambition for a website?
Right.
I'm asking. I guess that's a long way of asking. But do you think it's better to go after that non-related keyword that's right there, messing with you on your front page of search engines? Or is it better to leave that and not touch it at all? I mean, I don't know if there's a right answer. I'm just wondering what your strategy would be.
I would leave it because I don't think the benefits of having to try to mess with it are going to be, or at the end of the day, going to be worth it. Not if you're dominating the first few. You know what I mean? I mean, if that popped up as the very first result or something, or you were buried, 3, 4, 5 deep on the page, like maybe, but you got to look at the overall. For me, it's a matter of looking at the overall for whatever that search term is. Looking at the overall domination, right, of that
there's no need
first
to mess
page.
with it.
And so, it's like, why mess with it? It's like 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 8 or whatever it is there. So not significant enough.
So going back to do follows and no follows, we want do follows. In other words, like, because we want people that are proud of their link, I guess. The other thing would be somebody who's like, I don't want to, but I'm going to have to link to this. And I guess they can make a no follow note on their link so that the engines know, hey, this person's linking, but they don't want to. Like, they're not trying to, right? You can make a tag. Do you know what the no follow tag is?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't either. I need to know if there is one now. No follow tag.
There's a checkbox in there in WordPress.
Oh, really? I didn't know
I think
that.
so. I think so. I think there's
I never even paid attention.
I say a checkbox. I think it's a switch that you flip when you do a link. I don't know that for a fact, but I think maybe. I don't ever get that crazy with it.
So anyway, you can think about that though. If you've got a bunch of stuff that you're linking to that you don't want to help, then you can make sure that the search engines know you're only linking for reference purposes or whatever. Linking to every town and stuff like that might be super useful. All right, so Jeff is saying, I'm not concerned with 1 or 2 other sites that own traffic that should go to them. That's a good way to think of it. Let's see. So I was going to now go to Puppy Sit Down. I was going to go to backlink. And let's put in this. You had your chance to go potty and you decided not to go potty. So now you're going to sit here. He's looking at me like I did something to him. So right between Clover and I, it looks like. Oh, wait, what did I do? Oh, what did I do? Okay. Nope. No, I messed up. So there's you, and then I killed me, I guess. We're just using free tools. So thanks to Ahrefs. It's a nice free tool that you can use to check your site out. I'm sure if you paid them, they give you even more info. So 36 ranking. We've got the 28,000 backlinks with a 96 do follow. That's pretty neat. So it's 28,000 other people out there in the world. That's more than High Point, and a way higher do follow link. And then 2,000 linking websites, which is cult level linking back sites. Looks like I got 179. Clover's got 33. So Jeff is wailing on that. High Point has 1,000. Now, is that something that Jeff has efforted? Or is that something that's just happened with the structure of your guys, of the Gear Report project?
Well, if Jeff's out there, he can obviously answer that. I would
we can
I would speculate that it's a lot of that's due to the design, the nature of the website and having the multiple authors and
so we should probably just not assume. Yeah. So Gear Report is it's a website with that has a couple of people that run it, and then a whole bunch of people who are, like you said, authors or editors or writers that create content for it and then link to it in different ways from different places. So I don't know how many editors there are, but let's say there's 10. Well, that's 10 websites right there. If he's got 100 editors, then potentially 100 websites right there. And if you write more than one article, I don't know how backlinks work, but I mean 100%. But or I mean linking websites work, but you know what I mean. So it's pretty. I'm sure that those are separate though. They're not going to be the same. It says or it just happened, which could be. Sometimes you get to experience fishing. Sometimes you're out there fishing for one thing, and you catch something else. Sometimes you don't catch nothing, and sometimes you can't believe how many fish you caught. So let's take a look at who is linking to them. We got Inner Ordnance, the company with a 29, 1791 gun leather with a 34, Dirt Legal, a blog about the Humvee, 42, Treeline Review, 38, Blue Coolers with a 53, DIY Hammocks, Insteading, interesting, Firearms Insider TV, our Hummer Street Legal. So I don't know why they're not putting these things. Maybe it's because we're looking at the free version. I bet you with the paid version, so you want to see all 28,000 backlinks, you can pay for it. Let's take a quick look to see what their pricing is, just to help them out since we're using their tool for free.
Whoa.
$100 a month, $199 a month, right? So these kind of tools aren't free at all. You can use them, you can sample them for free, but they're useful. And if you're doing a project, this might be too much to jump in on, but if you're looking for coaches and consulting, there are people out there that do this kind of stuff that have access to these tools that know how to work them and can help you with that. You might even know a couple of them. So we're looking at the different ones down here, but I'm guessing now that I'm thinking about it, they probably are randomizing this a little bit. And I mean, it's possible that Inner Ordnance is a pretty big site, and 1791 is a pretty big site. But Wikipedia is a pretty big site, and it's got a 92. And here they are linked to them since May of 2016. That's nice. So think about the real life version of this. Since 2016, people that have been going to Wikipedia looking for this Steyr SSG8 M1 are going to find, potentially, if they're digging around on Wikipedia at all, they're going to find the link to Gear Report. Head over there. How many people could you think possibly went to Wikipedia's page like this? And can you even imagine like how many people might have gone to a Wikipedia page? There's no way to know, but I'm just guessing that since 2016, at least a few people, if not a lot of people, have gone there, clicked on the link, eventually put together their own web page or forum post, and included a link to Gear Report's review there from that prototype at the NRA annual meeting in 2016. And that's how you build links. You create stuff and you encourage people to share, and then, pretty neat. So getting on Wikipedia can certainly be a good idea. I mean, you can't just do it. Here's Ghost Tactical with a 20, hitting back over to him. Friss Elizabeth SE. So this one is coming from, I don't know, what do you think Friss Elizabeth is? Maybe Scandinavia or something? Nordicland? Something from Nordic land is linked to him. Whether it's only a score at 2, but I don't know. I think the internet likes it when you get links from around, like all around the world. So anybody else's that we should check out? I'll put him right between ours here. Anybody else have a project out there that want us to check out?
I don't think Ghost would care.
I don't want to assume though, because some people might not like it if we're yanking their pants down in front of everybody. If they feel like that's what we're doing. Some people will think that we're standing them up on our shoulders and running them around. So we're not trying to do nothing except show these tools and how they work, and some insight as to how coach people are going to look at these tools or use these tools when we're evaluating. Let's see. Your report says you can drop links in a discussion forums. It's a slow way to build backlinks, but it works. And yeah, that's definitely a thing. It's not as easy as that. There's lots of people who have a proprietary opinion of their forum, and they're not going to dig that if you're just seeding. At the same time, if you are interested in the topic and you're there participating, then it's totally natural to be dropping links around. Is that saying that you want us to check out your sites now? Otherwise, we can check on somebody else. Let's go to a knife spot. Let's go to Benchmade. No, let's go Spider. Here's my spider. So we're just going to type in Spider Co. It would be neat if this thing told us how many search results were coming up. I think Google does that. It's probably a zillion. You know, Spider Co is a pretty big company. So it comes up with 2 ads this time, which is kind of interesting for this being DuckDuckGo. The Wikipedia and a map, like going to their store type of thing. So that's the first time we saw a map pop up. Then their website, more of their website, Blade HQ on top of Amazon. Interesting. Then Wikipedia, and then Knife Depot, then Smoky Mountain Knife Works. I've heard of all of these. I think I might even have heard of Knife Center. So there's some definite fighting going on for placement in the knife arena for sure, right? We know that. And Spider Co isn't playing around. What do you think these numbers are going to look like before we even see them? Are they going to beat Colt?
No.
Okay, Clover says it's not going to beat Colt with a domain rating of 64 versus the 70 from Colt. 207 backlinks with a 75% do follow versus 110 with a 91. Linking websites might as well be the same number, literally. That's weird. Yeah, so what do you think? So do you think you won, or do you think you're taking that back? I mean, technically, on the domain rating, you won 100%. And the backlinks, I have no idea how much to weigh that, but essentially they got twice the amount of backlinks that aren't quite the quality. Take a quick look down. They got Blade Forums. We knew that. Blade HQ. We knew that. Gear Moose. Never heard of it. Knaps.com. Interesting. NothingbutKnives.com. Blade Mag. Marine Approved. Interesting. Like marine, like the water marine. Or I guess that could be the other kind of marine. What am I saying? I guess it's spelled the same way. Then we got VG10. No, I mean Wikipedia on VG10. That's interesting. Have you looked at any of these numbers along the way and been surprised by the rank of a page, either in a positive way or a negative way? Like, wow, that's big, or wow, that's a lot smaller than I thought it would be.
Not really.
Early today. And it's a lot to look at on the screen as we're scrolling by, but Wikipedia is a solid 96. Like, they know what they're doing. Everybody links to them. They link to other people. Small Arms Review Magazine, that's an interesting one with a 53. All right, so there's a Spider Co, and I think we got some feedback from Snob. He doesn't care. He doesn't do anything, so he's trying to get out of it. So if we type in, should we put in the gun? And then Gun Snob?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so you gotta have to, because if you just put in Gun Snob, it's too vague of words, and that's not really fair. So he has the qualifier "the" on there, and his channel comes up right at the top. I think this is the same site. Known by all, liked by a few, but one way or another, we will know his opinion. Oh no, that's the other dude. What's some other guy using your name, dude? That's messed up, but at least you're beating him.
Different Gun Snob with spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, with a bunch of power behind him, and Snob is beating him. Then you got Sports World Tulsa. There, Gun Snob will show you features, so you got that happening. Then you got his website, gunsnob.net. I'm assuming that's his name. Yeah, Live Free Armory and stuff. I'm guessing that's yours. 6 Truths Preached by Gun Snobs. Shooting Illustrated. I wonder if Snob were to go make a comment on this article, if with a link to his site, if that would help him. So that's a thing you can do, kind of like what Jeff said before. You can go places where you want links back and just put links there. As long as I don't delete them, you got links there. Mm-hmm. So, Shooting Illustrated probably has a comment period to the end here. It's the way these websites do this. And if they do, well, they don't, so I guess I'm wrong. But, if they had a comment thing, you could put a comment in here like, hey, I like the Gun Snob at this link. And if they don't delete it, now you've got a link back over there. All right, so now let's head over to the deal. He says he's not doing anything. How often, in your experience looking at these kind of things for clients and people, are they way better than what they thought they were going to be, versus are they as bad as they feared they'd be? That's what it's saying.
I don't know. I think most people don't have enough understanding to know or care one way or the other.
Definitely most people aren't paying attention to this stuff, and it's not like it's once you get these things you're done. It's just that you want to be fighting the stream or going with the flow. So you either have a big sail and you're catching the wind, or you're just sitting there in a rowboat without a sail, and the best you're going to do is get the air that hits your boat and you. So
like the numbers there don't surprise me if you tie in what he has said out there in what the gun snob said out there in the live chat, right? That he just doesn't pay much attention to the site. He forgets he has it a lot of times, this, that, and the other. So obviously he's not working it. So I mean, you could say, well, that's reflected in the, you know, because that's by far you don't get much lower on a score than
well, no, I think you can get a 0. I think it cannot know you exist.
Well, I know that, but I mean that compared to like, I mean, that's way closer to 0 than it is anything else we've looked at so far. So,
well, for sure. Now his site is probably smaller. I don't know about newer, but newer than most of the stuff we've looked at today. True. Definitely way newer than stuff that we've looked at today.
Yeah, that's true.
I started my site in 2004. When did you start Gun or Clover Tech?
I don't even know. 2016, 2015. 2015, probably.
Oh, really? Okay. And then I don't know when Snob started his, but probably later than that. Sorry, I'm making some coffee as I'm talking. So, yeah, he says he doesn't do much with it. 2019, so it's just a few years old. All right, so when you're starting, there's a lot to be said for starting, because you get to lay things down instead of having things happen. And I can look at a website that's existed since 2004, and what can I do about it? Almost nothing. When you got a site that's brand new, what can you do about it? Almost everything. So 78 backlinks, 38% do follow, 7 Lincoln websites, so that's about 10 per page ish. More than likely it's one with like 80 or 30 and one with 1, but whatever. And then this 1.1, which is just a way to put it in the whatever. It's accumulating all bunch of things, I suppose. So let's take a look at the kind of stuff that's clicking over. You got Gunstreamer with a 40. So that's putting stuff over on Gunstreamer. Full 30 again with a 29. Do you know what Plinkton is? I'm not clicking on nothing anymore. But I don't know what that is. Coin market bag. Because he's doing reviews from Amazon, I'm guessing. An RMR footprint emitter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, he got a link from a 45 size site linking to it. Sports World Tulsa with a 32. Gun Show Reviews, you're welcome. That's my site with a 7. And then New World Video. Interesting. So you can go out and ask people, hey, can you link to me? You can go out and leave links on places. Now, I haven't seen any Amazon comments, and I know Snob does a lot of those. I'm wondering, are you allowed to put links in your comments? I wonder if that's a way to sneak links off of Amazon.
I don't know.
That might be interesting. So thanks for letting us check out that. Again, when you've got a new site and it's just starting, you've got all the potential in the world. That the main, let's talk about this. So what are we looking at? This tool gives us these numbers, I'm assuming for a reason, right? So the ranking or the rating or whatever is just a quick way to summarize everything and put it into one number. So whether or not you like their system for that, right? Then you've got the backlinks and the linking websites. Those are things you can do something about. You can go out and effort on that. Where? How? Well, start looking at other pages and see what kind of stuff, like Gunstreamer. That's simple. You can create an account on Gunstreamer and put stuff there. You don't have to be the biggest person on Gunstreamer to have a link from Gunstreamer, right? You don't have to be the number one viewed thing on GunStreamer to have a great link coming back from GunStreamer. In fact, everybody can make that one happen. Professional, I'm looking at Clover's again. Yeah, professional outdoor media. Well, that costs you some money. But that's a nice little benefit from having that expense. You're paying for the membership, but that's a nice little perk from the membership. I wonder if they realize they're offering that.
Probably not.
The TNT code, I don't know what that is. I'm not clicking on nothing. The patch buyer's guide, that's just me. That's just a regular person's website. It's only a page rank of 11 right now, but as I work on that, that'll turn into a 61, 100, a 99 at some point. So being connected to individual sites, I think there's a lot of power there, because that's like investment. Like you get a link with some human, some person, some entity, some project, and then they grow. Your link is growing too. So starting relationships, valuing those relationships with smaller, fellow creators is super useful, because as you all grow, all these numbers are growing. As Clover gets bigger, all the places that Clover links to Gear Report and Snob and everybody else, that's becoming a more valuable link. Their sites become bigger, they become more valuable backlinks to them. So I guess we know that one thing to check is to make sure that your links are following. So more than likely they're set to follow. I think, as Clover was saying, that the default in WordPress would be a do follow. That you have to turn that off. In other words, like don't follow would be the modified version of the link. But something they might want to, I don't know, how big a priority would you say links are in the overall scheme of things? How would you try to, I don't know, express the importance of them compared to all the other things, value, quality of audio on your YouTube video, making sure your podcasts go out regularly, collaboration with other, there's so many other things we got to think about. Where is website linkage and website effectiveness?
I think it sort of depends on, who you are and what you're doing. But I think for, from the sense of like a creator, I think it falls quite a ways down the list.
Yeah, I think of it as critically important, but not necessary to do very often. So I'm going to say it's like once a year, mess with this stuff. Maybe a couple of times a year, but you're not going to be able to just go in and change these. So you're going to get super frustrated if you look at these, don't like the numbers, and then try to do something and look at them in a week. Nothing's going to change in a week. In 6 months, with a lot of effort, you can push these numbers around. After years with effort, consistent effort over years, you can move these numbers dramatically. Super easy. It's definitely possible. But useful, necessary, man, it's just not. It's going to get you to the top of YouTube or the Google or the search engines like this. And sometimes that is critical. Just being a link or two above a store, a link or two above a competitor, super critical. And it's prestigious as all heck. But as far as the amount of time and effort it takes to get there, most people don't have the time or effort. And that's where I think you get the advantage going to those with scale, the projects and entities that have enough personnel to put somebody on this, like a team that's devoted to this. The larger entities are going to have a team that pays attention to this. And every time somebody does something, they're either going to enhance or repair whatever they did. So they're going to be constantly monitoring these kind of numbers. That's not reasonable for most people. I don't think it's necessary, but it is something that we should be aware of and we do have control over. And it's as simple as understanding directions that you can go, and then knowing that, hey, this decision I'm making is either pushing me towards that or it's pulling me away from it. So there is an option when I lay this down. Do I do it with the link or without the link? Do I put that no follow on? And I guess that's, my recommendation is what we're looking at here isn't drop everything and rush over and worry about this, but you're building things anyway. You might as well be aware that this is something that's out there. Maybe that's the way to say it. We're about an hour in, and this isn't necessarily the hottest topic in the world. It's not necessarily, hopefully it's not the driest topic. Hopefully it's interesting to people if they haven't dealt with this stuff before, and it's not unreasonably difficult. You don't have to pay nothing to play with these. It can take a little bit of effort, but really it's just a little bit of strategy too. Some tactics, and then give it some time. I think it's tactics and time, and you end up adjusting your metrics on your website. Let's see. So Gear Report saying you need to have your own website. If the platforms implode, you still have your website. Yeah, I think of it as an investment. If you're going to be putting stuff on your platforms, whatever the social platform you're into, now maybe you're the type who's just got into one social platform and that was your one and you liked it and you've been there the whole time. YouTube, maybe if you're watching this, or a podcast if you're listening to this. But maybe you're the type that used to be on Twitter and you got sick of it and then you went to this place and now you're YouTube, or you went to YouTube and now you're on Twitter and then you went to Facebook. Like, I don't know. So if you understand that people are going to move around or whatever, then, and you also know that it's possible for platforms to be weird and do dumb things and just people to leave. Like you might have been involved with one of these people that got kicked off of YouTube, and if their whole audience left YouTube with them and went somewhere else when they got kicked off, now you're on YouTube by yourself, essentially. So you got to make that decision. Are you tied to something that could leave the platform you're on? So for all these reasons and probably a lot more, having your own website is just some insurance. It's a place that if you're going to be posting a video anyway, you might as well post a video and link to your website. You're going to be doing an article somewhere, a blog post or something, then link to your website. You're going to be adding a picture somewhere and then link to your website. Ideally, you put a picture somewhere, you also put it on your website. You put an article somewhere, you also put it on your website. Or at least the most important, the interesting things, the things that took some time, link the important stuff on your website. And then like Jeff is saying, if something happens, a platform doesn't like you anymore or something, you don't have to do nothing. All you got to do is like keep going. Like the stuff that you did still is there. It's just there in a half the form that it was before, but it's like an investment. You've kept all that stuff around. And if you never do get knocked off, then as you see, you're going to get backlinks from these sites that just makes your site stronger. And eventually, once you get a site, I don't know, maybe Clover have an opinion on, the domain rating for this website that we're using as a tool is not an actual number. It's just a number that they've come up with to use to compare them. But at some point, that number becomes lucrative. We all know that if you had 100, everyone would want to be your best friend and want you to have links on your site to their site. If you had a 99, you'd be in about the same boat. I don't know how low that goes. Is it at 80% that you're everybody's best friend, or is it 90% and above that you're everybody's best friend? But at some place, even if you've got a small site, if you've got a massive ranking, then you have value on the internet. And if you're trying to appeal to somebody, hey, let's work together, or hey, let's join forces or something, then hey, one thing I can bring to the table is my massive page rank or my massive domain rank or whatever they're calling it, the performance of my website. And people who are understanding of this realize that you don't just get that. It is possible for someone to accidentally get a massive rating, but typically it takes some effort in specific ways. Again, linking and doing all these things we've talked about, that can happen for you out of nowhere, but most of the time it's deliberate. Most of the time people take the action to do it. So people who are in the know, that pay attention to this stuff, when they see a really nice numbers over there, they usually go, oh, this is somebody who's paying attention to this stuff. This is somebody who's thinking of that stuff. They're bringing those resources and talents to my organization, or at least connecting their giant, well-made site and a monitored site to our site. And we know that we're going to benefit from that. Am I reading too much into it? Am I a web guy and I'm thinking, can it take too much opinion of these numbers, or is it true that these numbers appeal? And then, like I say, do you think that there's any use, again, like trying to salvage some, is it worth putting people's attention into this?
It's all perspective. I mean, it depends on your goals. I mean, it's, that's why doing these is such a difficult thing sometimes. Is kind of depends on what people are out there are trying to accomplish. For those, I'm usually here in a YouTuber style capacity, and from the YouTuber style capacity, it's like, no, not really. I mean, probably should be paying a little attention to it and messing around with it every now and then, but at the end of the day, cranking out the videos, making sure that your channels are consistent and I don't want to say quality in terms of camera gear or necessarily anything like that, but quality as far as value proposition and things like that with your content, then you need to be hitting that more than anything. Because I mean, what's going to happen is you do that, and you get people that share stuff out, not just individual people that share stuff out, but platforms, right? And the YouTube algorithm, for example, is going to kick in, and other things. And we also got to realize that these search engines, which you're using today, kind of looking at stuff, pull videos as well. So making sure that you get those descriptions, get those tags, and utilize keywords and stuff like that in your videos is not for the benefit. I've talked about this before. It's not for the benefit of YouTube, but it's for benefit of search engines like that. So still relevant. It's just not, none of that is, in my opinion, for quote unquote gun tubers. None of that is high on the priority list, in my opinion.
So do you think there's is it a subtle strategy to have a working website, a really good, metric website, or a website with a good metrics? In other words, a website that's well oiled, and then have that attached to your YouTube. Do you think it gives any help to your YouTube channel to have that resource, or do you think it's purely outside YouTube and not put into their? I mean, the search engines might help you, but in YouTube itself, useless, like unnecessary.
No, I mean, having a website as a creator is paramount.
Oh no,
But
I'm saying that from the YouTube engine. Like, does YouTube incorporate your page rank on your website at all? You think, like any external stuff?
I don't think
Like,
that they much care one way or the other. To be
I
honest
mean,
with
I could see them incorporating it and use that as some, like, let's say they got two people that are neck and neck and they're looking around desperately to figure out another variable to try to separate them because they're so similar. Then do they look outside of the platform and say, what does the rest of the world think? I mean, they are Google, so they know that instantly
I don't
to
think
a
so.
page rank level that we don't even know that they do. So
I don't
just
think
wondering.
so. I think
Yeah,
the complexities of the algorithm that serves content
yeah, it
are
allows
so
them to
are
do
s- are
enough of a
so deep that
division inside. Yeah.
I don't think they have to go. I don't think they have to go outside. There's so many
Plus, if they
identifiers.
needed to, they could cut a niche in half and go, okay, these guys are very similar, but let's see where they are on the chocolate cake niche. Okay, there's a big rift there. Now this guy wins because he's got a chocolate cake
Well, it
win.
could come down to minor things like oh, but this channel here's got a better view to sub ratio, for example, or
Right. They'll just keep looking at variables until they find a distinction.
mhm, yep.
All right. Well, nobody's saying nothing. Maybe we hit a dead one with this one. I'm going to keep doing stuff every once in a while that isn't necessarily, um, I don't know if anybody's, I don't know if somebody must have done this on the internet at some point, but this isn't necessarily the biggest deal, especially for YouTubers. But I figured I'd throw it out there because it is something that you can easily adjust or easily influence, I guess is the way to say it. It's frustrating because it isn't an easy fix. Just
Yeah.
like I said, you can't just fix it in a minute. But just with some foresight and some attention to it, you can create, maintain, and then monitor numbers out there on the web. Jeff is saying there's a lot of other tools. Yeah, definitely. There's just one that I had in a list that is free that we can quickly look at to get some data to look at the differences and stuff. But I guess on that realm, what other kind of things do you use when you're evaluating a site besides how the internet sees the site?
Do what now?
Jeff was saying that there's lots of other tools you could use to look at websites, and this is really just how the search engines or how the other internet sees your site, how
Wow.
it compares your site. So, what other kind of tools have you used to evaluate websites when you're
So
either building or?
I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to say my eyeballs, and here's why. Like, this from back in the day, and I do too. How many times have you seen search engine manipulation, SEO manipulation done where somebody put black text on a black background that said Britney Spears, Britney Spears, Britney Spears, Britney Spears, or whatever, right? Like, um, and there's certain ways in which you could manipulate a website to try to game SEO or game Google, but then it is not user friendly or visitor friendly. You feel what I'm saying? Like, so there, for me, I get the tools and run these tools and get these numbers and, oh, what do these numbers mean? And then, okay, how can I improve on these? And I get that. But, just making sure that your website is aesthetically pleasing, it's easily navigable, it shows properly on multiple platforms. Like, all of that comes way before the stuff we're talking about here, I think. And it holds a lot more weight. Because what difference does it make what score your website is or how much backlinks you have and all this other stuff? What difference does it make if somebody hits it and it's garbage, right? Or on the
Yeah,
off
like if
base
it's
there.
unreadable, like you said, there were some
Right.
tricks and stuff people would use, and you would do that for 3 or 4 months and then turn that all back to normal again. But you could do things to screw with the machines because they're just they're just machines. And then, but anyway, you could definitely, if you were to build a site that worked well for the machines, it would not look right. It would look dumb. So there aren't anything that I'm aware of in the anything that ranks ranks websites or evaluates them. Nothing tries to visually evaluate them except for humans. And then
Right.
unfortunately you get into just I don't like red, so I'm not going to like a site that's all red. I don't care what it looks
Yeah,
like.
you get into you get into nuances and personal preferences and opinions. Yeah.
So
But
there's Google
that's
Analytics, which is a Google tool, and it allows you to track and analyze the metrics related to a website's performance, like traffic, visitor behavior, and conversions. So it can hook up to Google. Oh man, why can't I think of the pay thing? The Google thing, because you can hook it up to your Google Ads essentially. Is it AdSense? I don't know, whatever it is with money. And then so you can hook it up to your ads and stuff. And then so Google Analytics is actually made for the sales of stuff on Google, but it's a great tool even if you're not selling anything. You've got the Google Search Console, which is another free tool from Google, and it provides insights on how the crawlers and indexes are on your sites. So your website's going to have a welcome to our website sign, maybe, or it might have a sign that says, leave us alone, don't come in here. And more than likely, it's got a welcome to our website. You'd have to intentionally set up the don't come in here, but you can set it up to be don't come in here, and that can accidentally be set up. And then you're in trouble if you're trying to get people in. You have a sign right up front that says don't come in here. And then you can also have like a roadmap. You can give them, like if you think about an office building that might have a map for the fire department or something, it's similar. You're going to have like your website and it's going to have a map, a site map, and that's going to be given to the search engines to say, here's the stuff that we feel is important and the stuff that you don't need to worry about, we have crossed out. You can know it's there. We're not trying to hide it, but don't index it. It's not necessary. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like that gives you some insight into like that and lets you adjust some of that stuff. Have you used page speed insights? I guess that's another tool from Google that measures how fast a website loads and suggestions on speed and performance. Unless you're doing something super weird with your website, that's not going to be an issue for most people anymore. I guess you could be really dumb and have huge pictures, but even WordPress is going to take a huge picture and make a thumbnail of it. It's not going to try to download huge files all the time, but it is possible to inadvertently, unaware, with not being familiar with it, to put huge files on the internet so that your page speeds goes down. That's more of, I think, what Clover's talking about, though, like a personal human experience.
Yeah. Right.
Jeff saying, drop this into Chat GPT. I essentially put the same thing. I put in, describe the tools that Webmaster would use to evaluate their website and its performance. So far we got Google Analytics, Google Search Console, and Google Page Speed Insights, which are all free tools from Google. They're super annoying. You have to go through and learn how to work them, and they're not so complicated as they're just annoying, but they seem complicated until you figure them out, and then they're just annoying. But that is some useful info, and you're not going to have to go to these things very often. I'm going to say again, these are probably once a year, once every 6 months if you're being antsy. These are just tools you're going to use occasionally, like an oil change. If you oil change every day, you're just wasting money, right? If you oil change never, you're wasting money also. So you got to figure out a nice pace. Maybe oil change once a month. Maybe if you're driving more than that, every 3,000 miles, right? Maybe even if you're driving less than that, like then only every 3,000 miles, and that might be twice a year, right? Like that might still work for what you're doing. So some of this stuff is like changing the oil in the car. It's like giving it a tune-up, maybe. Let's see. So the next one is SEMrush, and that's the one haven't been able to pay for. It's another $100 a month or more type of thing. I don't know if you've used it before or used any free versions or watched anything about it, but it's a paid tool that provides detailed analysis of a website's search engine performance, including its keyword ratings, backlinks, and competitor analysis. And that's what's super interesting, since all we're doing is we're going to the internet and essentially saying, how is this entity's advertising working? And the internet can go, well, I've seen all the billboards, I've seen all the television commercials, I've seen all the radio, I heard all the radio ads, I've seen every magazine advertisement, and this person's success rate is this. Would that be how you describe some of these softwares that are taking a look at this element? And of course, if you can either have a project in mind that you've already done, or at least you can just look at other people's and see what's successful and what's not. So it's a very powerful tool. $100 something a month. This Ahrefs is another one. It's a paid search engine optimization tool that helps identify and analyze backlinks, keyword rankings, and organic search traffic for a website. That's the one that we've been using the free version of. It's called Ahrefs. You want to explain why it's called Ahrefs? For people that are like, that's a dumbass name for a thing.
Why are you asking me to explain that?
Oh, I figured it's just a piece of HTML. It's a link in HTML, starts with AHF. That's just a code thing. So they're taking a snippet of code and using it as the name for their company. It's like a nerd thing.
Oh, href? I couldn't understand. I couldn't make out what you were saying.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you would have,
I thought you were saying. I thought you said Atrix, Attrix, or something. I was like,
yeah, no worries. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying if you saw it. It's just like if a place called their mechanic shop Sparkplug or something. It's just a little nerd joke thing.
Yeah, href is a href is a code.
So then GT Metrics is another one. It's a tool that measures the website speed and performance, as well as identifying issues that might be slowing it down. So essentially a paid version of Page Speed Insight from Google. And then Pingdom, a tool that provides detailed reports on a website's uptime, downtime, and performance, and can help identify potential issues on hosting or server configurations. Yuck. Man, the olden days servers sucked more than they do today. They can suck today. Nothing's perfect, but wow, the internet's so much more nicer than it used to be. So that used to be a thing that you'd be paying for your website to be up, and it wouldn't be up. Like, whatever, they just weren't on right now. And depending on what you were paying for, if they only had one computer that your website was on and that computer was down, or that area got a snowstorm, then you weren't on the internet anymore. Nowadays, you probably have your website on 3 or more computers, so it can't happen like that. There's always parallel feed somewhere. But anyway, that used to be a thing. Now that's true. I can't even imagine, but that is a thing. I'm sure that it must be a struggle for somebody who's running their website out of their closet server, who does go offline occasionally, to compete with something that just never can go offline. Like, I don't know, I'd say most websites at this point can't go offline because we're redundantly served, right? But maybe I'm wrong. Do you ever thought about that? Maybe I think about things that other people don't think about. He's muted, so I don't know if he's muted or if he has an opinion on that. Gizzards out there, we've been checking out sites. You interested in us checking out your site? Using this Ahrefs free tool to evaluate backlinks mostly, and then checking out some of the linking websites. Okay, you're back.
I am, yeah.
So I guess I was asking off time or downtime. Do you think they even care about that anymore? And then secondly, because I'm ghosting you, do you think that most websites nowadays are like triple, whatever that's called anymore, triple rated or whatever, so that we never go down? We don't have downtime anymore.
I don't know. I'm lost on the premise here. I don't understand. We've
Oh, the
gone
last
off in the
tool
weeds
was
somewhere
called
that I don't know what we're talking about anymore.
the last tool. It just checks your downtime, the website's uptime and downtime. So how long your website's been online or
Oh,
offline. And I was
okay.
saying that most websites
Gotcha.
nowadays are like redundantly served on like 3 different servers in different
Oh
parts of the
yeah.
world, where
Yeah.
like a snowstorm can't take your website down. Back in the day, a snowstorm could take your website down
Yeah.
for a while.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
back in the day, if your website was only on half the time, you weren't going to compete with the website that was on all the time. So I was wondering, do you think they even use downtime as a metric? And then two, am I right that like probably most websites these days are redundant, that they can't go down anymore?
They can, but yeah, the odds of it I think are pretty slim.
That's, I wouldn't even bother with that as a tool, honestly. I mean, unless I was evaluating an issue, like somebody's like, I've got this website and it should be working, and for whatever reason it's not. And this tool tells me everything's good to go. This tool tells me everything like here's good to go. And as you can, well, I'm going to go back through these tools here, but for the most part, the tools are telling us how the internet sees you and how your stuff is built.
Hmm.
And if all these tools are telling you everything's fine, then it might be something that's less obvious or less of an issue, and that's where you need a third tool or a different tool to go look for that specifically.
Right.
And I guess it's just because these are all softwares and they have to draw the line somewhere. Like, let's stop putting options on this software and then call it something else if it's going to keep doing other things.
Right.
So essentially, though, what we've been looking at is tools that check for on a website your traffic and your where the people are coming from. So that kind of analytic, that's Google Analytics. The Search Console is checking your keywords and no, it's not. It's checking your how the internet sees you. It's giving you a vision of how the search engines see your site. And then you've got the performance tools, and then you've got a tool that provides performance on how often your website is down. Then you've got tools that evaluate the keywords in your website, how many times you're using words that attract your audience or attract the search engines that bring your audience, right? So if your website's about macaroni and cheese and you only talk about macaroni and you never bring up cheese somehow, then you're not going to get the same audience as you would if you had macaroni and cheese. It's probably a bad example. But that's what most of the tools that we've looked at now. So then we've got other things. You've got crawlers, which will just evaluate if your page has all of its, if your site has all of its pages connected. And I guess some of them can do more elaborate evaluation of if your navigation is any good. But again, that's more like what Clover was saying with eyeballs. Like, you can have a sprawling website that's a mess, and you can have an efficient, structured website. And the internet really doesn't care one way or the other, but humans either can get around or they can't. And you can't, if you have a maze, it's very difficult to get people to come back and keep digging in.
Hmm.
Then you get things, I guess they're called heat maps, click tracking, and some of the different tools that we've talked about. I think analytics can do this, but essentially think of if somebody put an overlay over your website, pieces, what was that thing called? An Etch-a-Sketch on top of your website. And every time somebody clicked on something, every time somebody was hovering over something, every time somebody was interacting with your website knew it. And then you go back after an amount of time and get a summary of all the places that people clicked. That tells you what's working on your website and what's not. You can literally get tools that'll do that, that'll monitor what people are doing on your website and let you know, like, okay, nobody's clicked on that ad. No one's even looked down there. I'm not going to put anything important down there, or I'm going to change my layer or my arrangement around. This is definitely getting into stuff for people who are paying attention to their website and want to make sure that their website is as effective as possible. I'm going to stop for a second and keep saying, though, that, again, is it your website or is it a website? If it's your website and your projects are all going to link to it, then your website can be the most powerful thing in your inventory easily. And doing some of this stuff to spruce it up, make it work on the internet, just makes it all the more powerful. That makes me ask another question to Clover here. Or did he just leave? Oh no, he just left. Whenever he gets back, I'm going to ask him, does a powerful site equal help on socials? So do you think the socials pay attention to your off-site analytics to give you your placement on the platform? I'm not sure if I've ever seen them talk about that before. So you got these heat maps, which can tell you where people are using your website, what's popular, what's not, and that can help you, especially if you do, let's say you got a button and you make the button blue and you make the button red and you're not sure which is going to work better for whatever reason, or, it could be a million other things. You're going to have a button over here, it's over there. It's going to look like a shield or it's going to look like a star. It's going to say this or it's going to say that, or maybe it's a button or it's not a button. And you want to try these different things. Some of these tools can give you an analytic. You can say, put it with the red button and run the tool, put it with the blue button and run the tool, put the button over here, put it over there. Maybe you leave it for some amount of time and 6 months later, go back and see. And sure enough, everybody likes the blue button. Everybody hates that red button. So you figure out some stuff with some of these tools. You've got your tags. So there's lots of stuff you can do with the website. When you post a picture, for example, you can just plain post a picture, or you could post a picture with a alt text, or you can post a picture with alt text and some tags and stuff. So the more shelves that you fill with your website, and a lot of those are invisible behind the scenes, the more of those shelves that you fill, the more there is for the crawlers and the spiders and the things that look for this stuff, more stuff for them to index. And that's all they love to do. They like to index. So typically, if the more of that stuff you have that's correct, the more precisely they can index you, and the more often they want to check you out, because they like digging through that stuff. So if you have an empty house, they're going to come find an empty house and go, yep, we verified there's another empty house here. But if you've got a house full of goodies, they're going to go, oh, man, can't wait to get back to that house full of goodies. Let's look around. And usually there's some benefit of that. You got keywords. So we talked about, the use of your keywords. You've got tools that can suggest keywords. So if you're in a pocket knife realm and you're doing okay, but pocket knife is such a tough keyword to compete against, you're looking for close ones. There's a lot of close ones. So which close one do you go to? There's some tools out there that'll let you determine which are the most popular of the options you're thinking. And there's tools that do this, and almost all of these tools, there's ways to discover this stuff, get insight on this stuff without tools, actually. So it made me think of that. And then you've got broken links, and some of these other tools that we've talked about can check for this, but then there's specific tools that will check for broken links, and that can be, it's annoying to the internet. Those spiders and those search robots, they like to keep the internet all figured out. So every time you link to nothing, every time you have an open door to nothing, they don't like that, and they dismiss your site a bit. So removing those is always a good thing. Ping speed, I can't imagine that matters anymore, but for people that are having issues, there are tools that can help you with some of the physical characteristics of your site. And if you're dealing with a weird issue with it taking too long to load, and it's not anything else, then it might be, again, something that has to do with your website or your server, I should say. And then there's a whole nother level we haven't talked about, which is how people are going to view your website, either on desktop or on mobile. So there's different tools and different techniques to get people some assistance with that. In fact, most of the way that everything's moving forward, as the internet is not going away from phones, and it's not leaving computers either, because computers and televisions are one way and phones are the other way. So those are always just going to be here from now on. And until something changes to everything's a square, then we're just going to have both. So nowadays, most everything has some kind of a little toggle. So as you're building or as you're creating or as you're doing stuff, you can just toggle back and forth between phone and tablet and computer. And or television or somewhere like that, and you can kind of monitor your design as you go. So Clover, I had a question. Do you think that having a powerful or effective or useful website, a website that's got good analytics, is useful, or does that count at all to the social platforms? Do they look outside at your presence to determine your ranking inside, or is it just your performance inside the platform?
I don't think so. I think most of it is all internal. Now they do um, platforms. There are platforms that if you go through and read terms of service, like your conduct elsewhere online, can affect things, right? Patreon's a good example of that. But as far as it holding in anything out there, like on your website, holding any weight as to status and boosting you within said platform, no. I mean, most of the platforms are pretty stingy. They're pretty, um, what's the word? Like isolated or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
introspective. They're not worrying
yeah.
about the rest of the world. They worry about what happens there.
Yep. They want you on their platform. They want everybody on their platform using their platform. They don't want you going somewhere else,
That's true.
right?
They
And
don't want you
so,
to leave, and they certainly don't
yeah,
care what you got outside as long as what
yeah.
you're doing here is more. Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if you're not paying for the service, then you are the service, right? Like,
Yeah,
so you're
and
not
if you
paying for
want,
Facebook, you're not paying for Instagram, you're not paying for Twitter. That means you are the product at that point. So yeah, they want you on the
meaning
platform.
they care what you're doing and who you're hanging out with and your patterns and your trends because they can sell that, they can use that to better
Yep.
create marketing and sell and make their money. So
Mhm.
yeah, so if you're not paying, then you're being observed, and then yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
All right, so then Jeff is saying that site speed is crazy important to search rankings, getting more important all the time. So I don't know if you were in here when I was talking about page speed, but is that something you agree with? Take
Oh yeah, that
temperature?
gets into, and I get it from the search engine standpoint and the rankings. I get that too. But I mean, just from user standpoint, I was talking about earlier, it drives me up the wall. And I could go probably search a couple of things right now and find websites that, like, you click on them and it sits there and it sits there and it sits there and it sits there, and I'm like, holy crap! Like, it's 2023. Come on, people! Like, there is no sense in having a website that it takes 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute, or whatever to pull it up when you've got, whatever I've got, 500 gig download or whatever the crap. It's ridiculous. 500 gig, 500 meg, maybe. Yeah.
So it's more of a assuming that the viewer isn't going to be tolerant of a slow site, therefore the search engines consider it more higher rank or
Yeah.
higher issue than okay. So
Right.
it's sort of for it's not so much a technical issue as much as a use issue. All right, well, Gizzard jumped in and said we could search for his. So I'm going to type in Gizzard Gary. I don't know how many people are going to search for Gizzard Gary and expect to find anything else, but let's find. We got his YouTube is first, then his website, then the Facebook, then the Instagrams, then the Patreon, then the website again, then a Wikipedia. Gary Gazzard. So some faker who's trying to act like him from England, some footballer who's trying to rip off a Gizzard Gary. Then you've got a podcast from Podbean, and then Twitch, and then Apple. So it's actually, thanks for letting us use your example here, because this is an interesting, because nobody's really going to, I guess if there was a Gizzard Gary fast food chain, this would be all disrupted, right? But since there's nobody competing with Gizzard Gary, he just owns the search page. And now we get some insight as to, do you think these are Gizzard's performance, or do you think these are in this order because this is the way the search engine ranks them or values them, weights them, with YouTube being first, website, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon? Because I don't think that's the order Gizzard puts his effort in. I think it would
No.
be like YouTube, Instagram, maybe Facebook, website, if it was the order of Gizzard's effort.
No, that's all pulled off of metadata. That's why I said you've got to distinguish between the computers, the robots, and the humans, right? Like when you search engine, that's robots. Like what humans do with that particular source may weigh on the robot's opinion. Don't get me wrong. So, like the traffic he's getting on YouTube versus the traffic human traffic he's getting on Patreon versus the human traffic and interaction he's getting on Instagram, that may weigh on how the robots rank him for the search. But ultimately, it's all data points, right? It's all ones and zeros.
So you're seeing is just literally he had this giant video, 32,000 clicks there. His website was probably the next thing people went to. And then his Facebook is popular. So it's had however many 400 likes or whatever. Although his Instagram, I would think, would have more, but it might have been older. But anyway, you're saying it's literally just given all these things numbers, and this is the order that it ranked or fell down in the list. It could be that all these things are 7 out of 10, and it just had to put them in some order. You know, like it might not be that one of them is 9 and one of them is 7 and one of them is 5 and one of them is 4. You know. So okay, so we've got his YouTube, and then his site, and that's what we're going to grab here. Now he also said, "Wow, a lot of those links are old. I haven't been on Patreon in months, and those links to my website are old." Again, we're talking the internet here, and the internet, I don't even know if it wants to be up to date fast. I mean, it probably does, but it can't be. So the internet's always kind of lagging behind reality. It can show you your trend or whatever. So we're taking a look at Ahrefs, which is an online tool, and they have a free feature that lets us check your backlinks through this tool for free. And the deal is that they're going to kind of let you taste some of their results, but not necessarily in order. So it's a little frustrating. And but it does give us a way to compare it. We started out with Colt earlier. Somewhere in here, we started out with Colt, and then we went to High Point, and then we started checking out some people we know. And then at some point, I went to Spyderco and checked it out as well. So we're going to compare Gizzard with Spyderco and with High Point. So Spyderco and High Point, Spyderco is about equivalent with Colt when we figured it out, but Gizzard is doing knives, so we're going with Spyderco, the knife company. So we've got a 64 with Spyderco and a 47 with High Point. Gizzard is at a 1.8, so he's beating Snob with the 1.1. But who was the next? Is it Clover with the 28? Was the next, I think. Your report. I think I have them in that order. So a 1.8 compared to a 28 now. Because Clover, you said you had your site up since about 16 or something. Gizzard, did he say? But I'm guessing Gizzard's is younger than that. But time on the clock doesn't really put too much. I guess it just gives us some insight. But 3,000 backlinks is doing pretty awesome compared to Clover with the 2,000. Clover, look at Snob with the 78. Gear Report with the 28. High Point with 22. And then Spyderco is winning everybody with 207. And then 5 linking sites. So going back to Snob's got 7. So Snob stole a bunch from you. And then Clover's at 33. Gear Report's at 2,000. I've got 100 and something. So there you go. Now let's take a look at some of the links. So a link from Taurus, not bad. Congratulations. 32 weight on that one. A Utreon with a 52. What do you think of that? Utreon with a 52. Gunstreamer with a 40. Gun Show Reviews, you're welcome. Gizzard, I'm giving you a little 7 right there. Jukesy, which we're assuming is full 30 with a 29. So, yeah, see, they're only going to give us a few. If we want to see all 3,000, it's $99 a month for the light package. And the light package gives you a dashboard and blah, blah, blah. The $200 gives you 6 months of history, a positional history chart, SERP backlinks, and a site explorer, content explorer, alerts, batch analysis, and soon to be report sharing. I don't know. Does any of this appeal to you? Having the ability to do all this stuff? Or is this like, I could care less? He's muted.
What was the question?
Oh, if any of this stuff, is this a tool you'd be like, hot damn, I wish I had all this stuff? Or is this like, I could care less about any of this stuff?
Yeah, I could care less. Honestly. As far as paying for it, yeah.
Well, paying for it, I don't like, but the ability to have these tools, I'd be like, dang, those are some nice tools because I'd like to know all that stuff. It takes forever to find.
Well, thing is, there's a reason that you've got to know it. Like, I mean, like I don't know how to explain it. Like if you're
when you
helping,
know it, you,
people out, I guess, but then you can't be spending hundreds of dollars on tools to help people for free, unfortunately. So,
well, no, but MC is saying it's like running a business at that cost. Oh yeah, and it's not something, again, this is something you do for once a year. You're not doing this monthly. You're not doing this like, I mean, I guess some people might be doing it monthly if you're at scale, right? But normally people are going to do this once a year. So you turn that on for a month and you do it for a month and then you turn it off. You unsubscribe for a while and you do something else. You do your rest of your life, and then a year later or so, you go back and you check it out and you see how you're doing and stuff. So it's expensive and it is a cost, but it's, I don't think anybody except for maybe like Coca-Cola and GE and stuff are buying that kind of stuff every month. I mean, if you are, talk to me and Clover because we can help you out on a lot less frequency than that, I think. I haven't worked with anything quite that big before, but I've worked with some pretty big companies. And so these tools are, well, they cost something. I don't know why they cost something. Why they cost something? Because somebody put them together, I guess. There must be giant engines behind them. If they were if there was a way to do them open source, I assume somebody would do them open source by now. I've never found anything open source to accomplish any of this. As I'm assuming nobody else has, or they would have brought it up. Gizzard is saying that everybody bought their Snob and Obnoxious and him built their sites right around the same time, and they're probably putting about the same kind of ambition effort into them, right? Like none of them seem to be like the like super ambitious about the website part of their projects. They've kind of been working on YouTube and then the other things adjacent. And again, it depends on how much you value. That's the thing. When you don't have a working, effective website, it's difficult to know how an effective working website is a benefit, right? So, and if you're not doing anything that requires that, then I guess that's another reason to not put any attention into it. But if you've got, I don't know, something that you're trying to get out there, or if you've got stuff that you're trying to do, then messages, call to actions and stuff, having a site that's finding people 24/7, having I guess it's the difference between having a storefront and having a storefront with a bunch of marketing and signs, a door and to a really nice service behind the door. If no one knows what's behind the door, then the service is just going to be there, and it could be invite only. There could be a reason for that.
right.
But if your goal is to just have people walk in, then if your sign's broken, that's putting a message out there. And we're not talking to humans all the time. Sometimes we are. Some of these things are humans 100%, but most of them are robots, or robots trying to interpret humans' opinion. And something like load time, that's a robot metric, something that's easy to determine. They just turn the stopwatch on, load your site, and then turn the stopwatch off when it's done, and then rank you with everybody else on the internet. So that's something you can adjust, but you can also ignore. But that's the robots trying to decide, try to determine what a human would tolerate or deal with, or how to put a number on that experience of the human. Anyway, so it's again, if you don't have something to do with the website, if you don't have like a message or a product or something that the website's going to accomplish for you, then I can see not putting so much time into it. But most of us can figure out some things to do there, even if it's bringing your YouTube people efficiently over to Instagram, or your Instagrammers efficiently over to Twitter. It's that kind of thing. And you can probably, just going to throw this out there, you can probably consider some kind of strategy where Twitter is this is where I talk about news and politics. Instagram is where I show pictures of my food. And YouTube is where I live stream or something. And then Rumble is where I do my gunsmithing videos, and your website can be the thing that describes that to everybody. And then on each of those platforms, you can say, you don't even know how much other stuff we do. Go check out our website and find out. And then that can be, a very effective, useful way of growing audience on those other platforms. Oh, let's see. So MC saying, personally, I would expect to have more financial gain from website merchandise and links than directly off YouTube. That's everybody's mileage may vary. There's people that are making a fortune off of YouTube, but you can make a fortune off of YouTube by doing stuff on YouTube and getting paid to do it, which isn't a product on your website unless you consider, hey, sponsor our stuff on YouTube and click here to do that. If you put that on your website, is that merchandise on your website? Is that a service that people can purchase from you that's available on your website that applies to other platforms, or that, gets efforted on other platforms? I guess we're over. So this is 90 minutes in, and I don't need to pull teeth. I like to take a look at different things each week. If anybody's got ideas for next week, we can check them out. You got any ideas for next week's topic?
Nothing comes to mind. So,
any issues that people are having, or things on the horizon that you see as a potential issue?
Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
MC says, the way I've started this account isn't the easiest to search. I sort of got off on the wrong foot. That's interesting. There's definitely people that start in one direction and then decide they're gonna just, take it in a specific direction. In that case, would you say rebrand, start over, or plow through and just go with the weird name or the diverse subject matter or whatever the thing is that you might decide to step away out of?
Again, it all depends on your goals, right? Like if you're talking YouTube and you're less than 1,000 subscribers, for sure less than 1,000, then it doesn't really matter what you do, to be honest with you. If you're less than 10,000 subscribers, may matter a little bit, so a little bit more tact, and hopefully you're not getting to the point that you're 10,000 plus and you haven't given thought and kind of set your foundations and your structure up properly at that point. So hopefully you get it all done before then. But yeah, I'm not real exactly sure what we're talking about with MC out there. But yeah, MC, if you're talking about trying to do a channel and searchability and recognition, MC just ain't gonna work. I mean, that's 2 letters. You need something more unique, more identifying, that sort of thing, right? So, like I said, I don't know in what context we're talking here, but you can pivot. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. How many times in the world have we seen rebrands on things like Facebook? Now it's called Meta, right? Like, I mean, it's like there's, we see rebrands all the time. Like it can be done, but it needs to be, depending on the size you already are. The bigger you are, the more care, the more deliberateness or whatever there needs to be in your pathway, your approach, right, to rebrand. So if you're smaller, just rebrand, just pivot, change directions, and go.
What do you think about having just keep the one and start another? Have branch, just have multiples.
You could. We could. I don't know. There often comes, especially. I mean, the typical. Again, I mean, we're speaking in the context of YouTube here, but the typical channel, I mean, is going to grow slowly anyway. We know this. So, um, if you've got 200 or 300 subscribers, whatever, and you're like, I want to shift gears, and you shift gears, and you're just like, okay, I'm just going to do a new channel. Well, you're potentially splitting focus, right? Which splitting focus is not the greatest thing when you're trying to grow a channel. But then you've got another problem with that, in that it's a creator mentality issue. But now you've gone from your, and this is even more of a canyon or a divide or a chasm when the bigger you get. But let's say you're going to start another channel, and now you went from even 200 or 300 subscribers to, you started back at zero, right? And like, there is a mental association there because you've gotten used to having those. It's why you can't discount 200 or 300 subscribers, right? Like, you have to value that to some extent. And yeah, if you go back and um, if you go back in and you have to start at zero, then it's like, oh man, I'm not growing. I'm getting discouraged. I'm not getting any views. I'm not. Well, you hadn't put in the work, so it's gonna be a different environment. So as long as you understand that, I don't necessarily have the problem. Now, if you've gained, and success is in the eye of the beholder, like, you know, for you to feel successful in your channel or your project or your endeavors or your life or whatever, that's a very personal thing. So if you think you've got a certain amount of success where you are and you want to start another one, and like I said, understanding you're starting from zero and do something different or whatever, we all have, pretty much all have B channels, so to speak, alt channels. Heck, I'm on the avatar for one now. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, at what point does it not make any sense? There's a reason I don't do a whole lot on GunTuber Academy. There's a reason that, I have to walk away from those other channels. It's like, my main channel is always priority, right? And so if your main channel is one that you're wanting to get away from anyway, right? You're wanting to shift gears and you're wanting to get away from that, then I mean, why not just cut the cord, so to speak, and be done with it, in my opinion. Yeah, as Jeff points out there too. Yeah. It's definitely way harder to come up on YouTube. It's progressively gotten harder and harder and harder and harder as times went on. And you can think popularity of the platform, you can think the amount of users on the platform, simple population growth, opening up to high speed and even the internet in some areas of the world, right? Starlink or whatever it might be. You can think a lot of things for that, for making it harder, but we got a lot more channels we have to I don't compete is a harsh word, but because it makes it seem as though we're actually competing against each other, and we're not competing against each other, especially on YouTube, as much as we're competing or trying to gain favor, I guess, with the algorithm. It's a little different situation, but
well, in a way, you're trying to wave at the thing who's trying to look at everything. So if you're not waving, then you're making it easier for the other person who can half-ass wave. Now, if you're both waving, then you are in competition, because now you got to wave harder, or better, or more elaborately, or something. So you can, I hear what you're saying, but you can take yourself out of it, but as you take yourself out of it, you're making it easier for the others. And sometimes it's as easy as getting up and half-ass waving because nobody else is even waving, and you don't know if you're not doing this stuff. And sometimes it's as easy as half-ass waving and getting some attention, and then somebody comes along, and competition is good. Somebody comes along and starts to half-ass wave, and now you're like, oh, well, I'm going to wave even harder. And now all of a sudden you're waving even harder because somebody came along and started waving. But what you're actually doing is being seen by people across the street. Now you're in a picture somewhere, and all of a sudden you're in Life magazine as the guy waving the hardest at the parade. And you didn't know that was a consequence, but you're going to get benefits from having a strong website. Clover's right. I don't think that the socials give a shit about your website performance, but I'll tell you what, you want to work with people and you want to do stuff and just be found out there. There's people out there that are paying attention to this stuff because they know how stuff works. And when you come along and you're competent and strong and you've got something, it doesn't have to be the best. You just have to be competent and growing and showing that you're paying attention to this stuff. Soon, I don't know if we're going to do this live or not, but off air, we're going to be talking about media kits to some people later on today. You know, and that's the kind of thing where if you can bring people real insight as to what you're bringing to the table and that your relationship with them is going to make you even stronger at this, then that's a whole nother layer of stuff that you're bringing to the table that other people aren't even paying attention to. And this is stuff that doesn't go away. Like you bring in, this is stuff that you're investing in your time and your efforts. And it's as simple as having a link to your website in your content that you put up there in the boilerplate thing on YouTube, right? Some of these links were links that you guys have created. A lot of these, some of the good ones, Gunstreamer, everybody gives Gunstreamer crap, but that's a 46 weight website that we create our own links to. Nobody tells us how many and how few. You know what I mean? Like that's a pretty powerful tool we've got there. I know a lot of you hook your whole YouTube channel up to it. So I don't know if that's even, I mean, I'm assuming that's a good thing. I guess we could have a discussion with somebody who's a real hardcore into this and let us know if it is worth having duplicate stuff and whatever. But when we're talking our scale, I think that, the more links we got, the better at this point. Anyhow, going off in different directions here. I went while Clover was talking there and just hit a couple of different of our national orgs to let us compare them a little bit. So NRA 84 ranking, 36 million backlinks with a 99% do follow, 20,000 linking websites with an 88% do follow. I don't think you're going to find a better example of getting it done. They give us a whole bunch in this case. Look at how many free ones they're giving us before they're going to charge us. But, you got North American Arms. That's neat. But a lot of these, there's one of their own websites linking to them with the 68. Neat. Oh, Cat Guns in Illinois with a 38 linking to them. So see what we're learning here by looking at this tool? Extreme Bullets. Tandem Cross is a 44. What is Clover? Clover 28. So anybody that's smaller than 28, Clover's bringing them up the level, but by being connected to them, they're helping you out. Michigan. So anyway, that's NRA, right? Tons of, I don't think, like I said, I don't think you can get better except for I don't know why their rating is low. I guess you can have more backlinks, I guess. Then we got Second Amendment Foundation going from an 84 to a 66, 2.5 million. I don't think I can get everybody out on the screen right now. Or maybe let me know if I should put this together in a quick thing for the website. But 36 million for their backlinks with a 99% do follow. And I guess part of the disadvantage of having a free one is that they're going to refresh it like that. 20,000 backlinks. Nope, it flipped over. 4,000 backlinks and 2 million. So, and an 81% do follow. Interesting. Next, we're going to go to gun owners. Oh, I'm doing too many of these. It wants to make sure I'm a human being. I'm using a free tool over and over and over, being a dick. Am I being a dick or am I using a free tool that they give to everybody for free? What would you say, Clover? Am I abusing it? Oh, maybe I'm off.
I don't get the question. Are you being Matt because you're using it? What?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, is it a bad idea? Am I taking advantage of the tool, or is it if they got the tool, use it?
If they're offering you to use it for free, then you use it for free. That's the whole point. Like, there will be some people, even if you're just using the free versions, there will be some people that may find that they hear it from you, they use that free version, and then they want the extras and whatever, and so they go pay for it. I've seen that multiple times. I've done that myself with software. I usually find that when I buy the paid for versions, I typically don't need them forever. And that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if we've gotten too much into software and stuff in the past, but often you can pay for like a month or two for for some of these tools.
And learn what you need to learn, right?
Yeah, pay for a month or two, and you've got access to all the ins and outs and the data. And what you can do is, if you use them over the course of 2 months and study them, right, then you can figure out pretty quickly, oh, okay, now that I know this is how the paid for versions work, and this is what they recommend, and this is how the numbers pan out, now I can extrapolate that back to the free version, right? And so I've done that many times with software where I've used the free version and then I've jumped into the paid for a month or two to kind of learn it and get a feel for everything, because it does make it easier in that sense, in that context, right? And then jump back to the free version and I'm able to do just fine. Now, I haven't used the one here you're talking about, but talking about other uh, softwares, other tools.
Oh yeah, I know the ones you're talking about, I think, and we didn't even talk about ones that enhance a specific platform. And there are applications, browser enhancements, softwares and services that can enhance, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, in lots of ways. Okay, so I'm just going to keep going through just because I open these things, and then I are getting some real questions in here. So did I say Gun Owners America 72 rating with 3 million backlinks and 7,000 websites linking to them. Let me know if these are surprising to you. The NRA only has 20,000 sites linking to it. Spyderco has 3,000. Colt has 3,000. High Point has 1,000. I got 100 something. Gear Report has 2,000. Right, and then NRA only has 20. I mean, not only, but it just doesn't seem like that many. It seems like there's a lot of sites out there. Only 20,000 linked to the NRA, but it says only 4,000 linked back to SAF. So this must be qualifying links or something. Like, there's got to be more than 4,000 things that link to SAF. I've had 4,000 links to SAF for crying out loud. 7,000 for Gun Owners of America. Then I'm going down to Firearms, so FPC, and now we're down to the 347,000 backlinks with a 61. So we went from an 84 with NRA, 66 with Second Amendment, 72 with gun owners, and 61 with firearms policy. And just to keep going, Nagger, 767,000 backlinks, and no one's ever heard of them before. And then we've got local Massachusetts group, Gun Owners Action League, been around since before I've been online. I was just curious to throw some state level organization in there. Off air, I'll probably dig in more to this and do some kind of a comparison thing. But I don't know. Let me know if you've got any impression from that. And now we'll get into some of these other real questions that have come in. Thanks for bringing in some questions here.
Right.
Okay. Glover's got to get going.
Yeah. Been needing to go for a little bit now. Hopefully we get the timing down on this. That will help.
Well, should I start it at this time that we started today, or started at the time I had planned to start it today?
I don't care. It's just when I'm planning this out for, like, because during the day I have to field calls. I'm dealing with creators and platforms and who knows, and then trying to do my own content and other things. So, I mean, like, I've got a schedule too, right? So that's the only thing, is making sure that, like, whatever time it's supposed to happen, we happen, and we kind of get out of here at a decent time. That's the biggest thing.
Okay, well, we only got a couple here. So Chris was asking, has heard people say in live streams that someone gifted 10 memberships or subscriptions.
Oh yeah,
it's memberships. And is that a YouTube thing or Patreon or StreamYard? So
YouTube.
There's a lot of different things. So Patreon is more of a subscription. That's a totally different platform. As far as I know, they don't hook up to YouTube at all. But YouTube has memberships. And while we're live, and we happen to be using StreamYard, but we're live on YouTube, people can use the YouTube super chat little $ thingy down there and gift memberships to each other. And I think it lets you gift like 1 or 5 or 10. I think it's like that. And maybe it's a slider. I don't know. I was looking at it. And then let's say you've got a $2 membership and someone puts $20 in there, and that's 10 $2 memberships. You need to first make sure that your channel there's a little checkbox you got to find, and then click it to say I can accept gift memberships, essentially.
Right.
So first
your
you
account.
have to, yeah. So yeah, thank you. Your account on your YouTube that you're signed into needs to be able to accept them. But then if you're a paid channel, if you're a partner channel, you're not going to be eligible. So don't be discouraged when you never get a gift membership if you're a partner channel. So if you're getting monetization from YouTube, you're not going to get a gift subscription.
Right.
And then you also need to be active in the chat. So it'll look for people that aren't already getting paid by YouTube, and then it's going to go with the 5 or 10 or however many people are most active in the chat. So as soon as you see somebody do that, gift memberships, just start chatting really hard. Because if you haven't already been, it's going to basically count, I think, or it's going to do something like from the time they chatted. Because I've experimented with a couple of times and figured this out.
Or better yet, just chat really hard and go ahead and become a member. Like,
I guess so.
And don't have to worry about it.
But it is a YouTube thing, and it can be confusing because Patreon's is a separate thing. We talk about it all the time as being a subscription.
I was wondering, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that I did look up and figure out. But yeah, I was wondering why it's like I can't even tell you the number of chats I've been in where somebody has gifted memberships and I've never gotten one. Right.
Yeah, that same thing. I was I was going nuts, and then I started to figure it out, and then I went in there and I eventually found the thing where it gives you this bullet point list, and the first one is you can't be a partner channel. So that's why, I try to tell a bunch of people, like, dude, you're too big of a channel. You're not going to get a gift membership.
Right.
And then Gizzard says the gift memberships are only for the first month. It's up to the viewer to join the membership if they want to continue. Yeah, exactly. Because if it's 10 gift memberships, that's 1 month's worth of gift memberships. I don't think there's any option to make it like a year or anything. Anyway, so yeah, that's
now I want to follow up on that real quick. So if you join another channel as a membership, this is why I don't do anything on the YouTube side as far as memberships. Yes, I support people on the Patreon side still, right? But like Gizzard is a good example, and this is why I brought this up. There's several that have jumped ship from Patreon. So the wonderful thing about Patreon is the one-time deal, first of every month, consistent, done. If I start supporting channels on YouTube, is that $1, $5, $10, whatever it is it going to be random throughout the month that comes out, or does all of that come out at one time, or does anybody even know? Because I haven't looked into that, but that's one of the reasons I haven't jumped into the membership side as far as me supporting others on YouTube.
Oh, you get paid by YouTube, period. So if you get paid on the 20th or the 21st or whatever it is, then that's when you get all that money. So the membership.
No, I'm talking about no. I said if I'm giving you money, when does my money come out?
If you pay on the 15th, then it goes out on the 15th. I'm pretty sure.
So I would have to. So I would have
to. All my YouTube memberships at the same time. They all happen on the same day at the same time. Yeah, like Gizzard saying on the 24th or something. It's right around when you get paid. Like I'll get all my YouTubes will go out, and I'll be like, oh, there you go. It's something like $30-$40 for me. Boom, $30 goes out, dollar, some cheap. And then, a couple of days later, here's your $200 or whatever.
Okay. Because that was my thing. I got to have some, and it's all budgeting and just the way I do things, but I've got to have some consistency. I can't have like $1 comes out today, and then 3 days from now it's $5, and then next week it's another $1, and then the 3 days later it's $15. Like I can't handle that. That's too, what's the word? Erratic.
Yeah. And it adds up. So She Fires has a future topic idea: avoiding YouTube jail mistakes and pitfalls on 2A stuff. Sure. Thanks for the topic idea. We always wonder because there's so much to talk about. We always wonder what's on people's minds or what's necessary or most necessary, perhaps. So we'll do that next week. If I can remember here, I'll start setting it up right away so that we get that set up. Again, thanks everybody for joining us and being what's the word? Adaptable to the late start. I keep setting these things. I do the DGS, the Daily Gun Show, at midnight Eastern, and depending on how long the show goes and how long we BS afterwards and that kind of thing, I can be up pretty late. And if I'm drinking coffee during the whole show, then I might stay up and sneak a project in at night, or work on a little piece of a project or something before I fall asleep. And then I set my alarms. But here's what I'm using as my another excuse. Here's another reason why it's not my fault. I got these new phones, so I'm just not used to these alarms. Before I had my regular old-fashioned 70s telephone ring, which wakes me up because I grew up waking up to that. And now I have weird robot like lullaby shit that doesn't wake me up. So today I woke up at whenever the show was supposed to start at 7. I woke up at like 6:30 and I was like, all right, perfect. And my co-host came over here and he's like, hey, did you want to cuddle? I can be very warm and fuzzy. And then all of a sudden it's an hour after the show was supposed to start. So it's not my fault on all those reasons, but I will set the show up for
custom ringtones, man. Come on.
No, I know exactly. I never got to it. And this is something else we could talk about, defaults or like favorites, I guess. I don't know what to call that, but like back in the day, at least, I would have a certain set of things that every time I sat down at a computer, because I mean, things were different back in the day, but every time I set up a new computer, I put this like disk of stuff in there, and part of it was startup sounds and folders and links and stuff, so I didn't have to put all that stuff back in again. You start with some where you were, instead of starting from scratch. And I just don't do that with my phones. I need to come up with like a startup folder that has all my ringtones, because I like to use a suppressor for my, what do you call them, message noise and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll set it up for the same. No, I'm going to set it up for the same for 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock would be 11 a.m. Eastern. If I do it for 8 a.m., that gives me an extra hour to sleep for sure. And then very little chance that I'll oversleep, because I can miss 6 o'clock and wake up at 7, right? Or miss 7 and wake up at 8, but I've never really slept past 8. Yeah. So I'm going to set it up for 8 if that works for everybody. And again, thanks for everybody for being adaptable today. And we'll wrap this thing up. Clover's got, I don't know, he's taking a week off because he's got nothing else to do. But next week, Nick, you're getting on the clock again.
Yeah, next week, and then I'll have another week off. But yeah, yep. Next week is who is it? Next week, The Honest Truth and Cape Gunworks and Toby. So, and then there'll be a week off, obviously, for NRA after that. So next week will be a weird week because it's in between 2 dead weeks. But then we've got, but we still got half the podcast season left, roughly about 10 episodes left. So we're in the middle of it, still going strong. But yeah, it gives me this week to try to get caught up on some produced content, which I've still got. I don't even know, man, 6, 8, 10. I don't even know, like commitments for videos that's got to be done. So try to get half of those caught up this week anyway.
Well, let's have show some time on like realistic scheduling, because I run into things when I try getting super ambitious, or it just all starts coming together and you're like, yeah. And then one thing can fall apart and just mess it all up. And sometimes you can structure stuff so that like you look back and you go, damn, I had like 4 massive catastrophic failures, but this thing still worked. Like I was able to keep it going. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 2 good, time management and YouTube jail, both worthy topics.
We'll do YouTube jail first, and I'm going to expand that to terms of service issues, because other platforms have them too.
Policy and terms. Yeah.
So cool. Thanks everybody for joining us. We go live every weeknight at midnight. Tonight I'm digging into the 5.5 hours of the ATF scrutiny from the Congress, where the Congress's job is to hold the executive branch accountable for overreach. And they are doing that with the ATF, and they had a 5.5 hour committee hearing, I guess, and that was televised and it's available. So I'm going to go through and do some scrutiny and some evaluation there. Hopefully some people will join me so we can dig into it and get as much from that as we can. It's stuff we paid for, and it's going in a direction that I think everyone feels is appropriate and necessary. They were scolding the ATF, for example, for their over scrutiny of the the gun shops, and they're putting so many gun shops out of business over paperwork errors that are not intentional, breaking the law intentionally, and then focusing on how, or at least bringing light to the fact that that attention spent shutting down gun shops is hurting the economy, but it's also taking time away from what they should be doing, which is actual law enforcement of criminals, you know, in the realm. So I really think there's a lot to be grabbed from that, and we're doing ourselves a disservice by just always looking at some other stuff. So on Tuesdays we look at 2A, and that's what we'll be digging into today. Barbecue has a show today. Night Strike does his hit or miss. That'll be on today. Ghost has a show. Do you know what the topic is? Oh, he probably jumped out. Yeah, I know Ghost has a show, but I can't remember the topic. And if I'm missing anybody, Pot of Gold Auctions probably has an auction today. And, oh, what am I saying? Cape Gunworks will be live here momentarily. So why don't I take a second to jump over to YouTube, and I'm going to jump over to my subscription list. And if it's already up here, it's not. Oh no, is it already up here? It is. So Cape Gunworks in half an hour will be live on a 45-minute segment of the Grace Curley show. So what I'm going to do is open up this YouTube channel. Yeah, open up this YouTube channel and add a link. So I'll do that live for everybody here so you can see what I'm talking about. Clover stepped away, so he's doing real life stuff. I just saw that Cape Gunworks, Grace Curley show is going to start in a half an hour. So I'm opening up the video that we're watching right now. I'm going to go to edit. So I'm going behind the scenes to edit the video. And then I'll go to the customization button here. It looks like a Wi-Fi thing. And I scroll down and I have a redirect. Right now it's set up to Chris's Wednesday night chat, but I'm ditching Chris, sorry, to put in Cape Gunworks, which will happen in half an hour, and then save. And now that will redirect everybody over to that show when this one's over. I encourage you to do that. It's a neat YouTube function that is available. And I'm going to see, so I've never done it before. I'm going to now open up the Daily Gun Show YouTube channel, and I will need to go over here and switch YouTube accounts, and you can log into 10 or 12 YouTube accounts at a time and just toggle between them. So as I said that, I jumped over to the Daily Gun Show channel. So now as I refresh this page, you'll see that my icon changes to the Daily Gun Show up here because I'm logged in with that channel now. See how slow my internet is? This is visual proof of how cruddy my internet is. I don't have that many windows open, and I'm only going to YouTube. Okay, so now I'm on the Daily Gun Show channel. I'm going to go and do the same thing. I'm going to edit. I'm going to grab that URL just in case I lost it somewhere. Since I'm in here, I'm going to scroll down and look at all that verbiage. Wow, it took me forever to write all that verbiage. And then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to put in, what is this show? 2A Tuesday, kind of. I need to make a new playlist for, sorry, everybody's watching me do behind the scenes stuff. A new playlist for gun channels coaching. And then I'll make a, since I have a new playlist over here on this channel, I'll go add the other videos to it and then put that on the main page somewhere. But what I'm really coming in here for is to go over to the customization tab and to go down to redirect and then to add that Cape Gunworks video from 2 different videos. And now I'm curious when we watch Cape Gunworks later, if it's going to say 2 different YouTube channels or if it's going to pick one or the other and say that, you know, this YouTube channel sent you, or maybe it'll be a toggle. I don't know. So I've never been able to create the instance, or at least I never took the time. I guess I've had the opportunity. So anyway, you guys are having a conversation over here as I was doing that. So Gizzard is saying, oh, hold on. Going back to Gear Report says ATF spends so much time on guns, but alcohol and tobacco kill exponentially more people. Yeah, Willed and Well Armed and I made a graphic a while back, which was the pie chart of, you know, alcohol deaths deaths from tobacco and deaths from firearms. And you can imagine the pie is not quite cut in half with cigarettes and alcohol, but guns are definitely, even if you include all suicides, guns are a tiny slice of that pie. So Gary is saying to Clover, turns out I was incorrect. The creator is paid on the same day each month, but members are charged every month on the day when they began their channel membership. So if you become a member of your channel today, you get charged again on the 28th. Okay. I don't. Maybe I just joined maybe it's just I joined a bunch of people on the same day. Like that could have been. If that's the case, then maybe I just decided one day I'm going to start, become a member on all these people's channels, and then I got charged on the same day, and I just never thought about it.
Well, I'm going to have to intentionally do that. So what I'm going to have to do is,
oh yeah, that's a good point.
Sit down and figure out, okay, what's the best day of the month for this to come out, potentially, and then,
do that on that
sit
day
down
time.
and do 5 or do how many, and then if anybody new ever pops up, I need to wait until that day of the month again. You know what I mean? And just make sure I'm consistent with that.
No,
that's the only thing I don't like.
I would do it for the day after you get paid by Google, so you know that Google's going to eat its own right away.
This is true. Yeah.
That's neat.
Yep.
Okay, so thanks. We learned a couple of things. You guys are teaching us, and we're not even going to wait. You're not even going to charge us, I hope. So let's leave it that way. So if you become a member, okay, and then thanks, and then just do multiple memberships. Yeah, and then what you guys just said. Okay, and now with that, we're going to mention again that Cape Gun Works is an awesome shop in Massachusetts. Check it out. You can use the code CloverTac, I believe. So if you buy anything over there, use code CloverTac, and you'll be happy. Also, Clover gets a little cut from that, so he appreciates it. They do a radio show. Well, there's a radio show that happens in Boston called Grace Curley, and I think she's on for multiple hours each day. And we were looking at Rumble last night. She is very effective over on Rumble, big numbers. I don't know. Did you watch the show we did last night? We ended up digging into some platforms and taking a look at some different channels on some different platforms, and Rumble was an impressive one. There's a lot of different levels of success over there, I guess. Anyhow, or I don't know, at least not sub, but view counts, if you call that success. Anyway, Grace Curley is a radio show and a very popular one in Boston. And Cape Gun Works has a relationship with the show for a long time. They do remotes at the gun shop and at the range and stuff. And then they have this call-in show every Tuesday. It's called 2A Tuesday. And people who are listeners of the radio show know that they can call in on Tuesdays and listen to or ask Toby questions. So they do this project for years now, and I don't know when they started posting it on YouTube, but I've been watching it for maybe a year now. And each Tuesday they'll go live in about a half an hour. It starts, and when they go live, the radio show might be 45 minutes. They'll go live for a few minutes before the show and just kind of shoot the shit a little bit, talk about 2A and guns and whatever's going on. They're in Massachusetts, so they deal with all kinds of things that the rest of the country isn't dealing with, but they're still paying attention to guns and whatnot. But Toby, the host of the show, owner of the gun shop, is really savvy. He's able to handle the text chat in a way that I haven't seen before, because the stuff that I'll have no tolerance for, I'll just delete. Toby will answer, and he's not challenging people to be weird, but he can handle the weird stuff, the troll stuff and the odd stuff in a very casual way that doesn't encourage more of it or anything. It's not challenging to bring people more of that garbage, because some channels, you bring them garbage and they're going to challenge it and expand on it, and it turns into a big thing. Toby's able to really have a good grasp of what the live chat's doing while staying on topic and on focus with the radio show. So it's a pretty fun show to watch. So then during the commercial breaks and the breaks in the radio show, the Grace Curley show, Toby will come back and address the YouTube stuff, and that's a lot of fun. And then after the show's over, they'll typically stick around for a minute or two or a little bit and address whatever questions. We usually wager, whatever the word is, casually whatever the right word is, on how many calls will come in. It's always fun. Sometimes it's just a couple of calls. Sometimes it's a bunch. And it's just a general fun time. Then on Wednesday, Cape Gunworks records their own show, Rapid Fire Radio. And that'll happen after barbecue show on Wednesday. So we started talking about what's on today. So the next thing that's up is Rapid Fire Radio, 2 Tuesday on the Grace Curley Show. You got links. Oh, I guess I haven't put an actual link in here. I'll go ahead and grab the link and put it in here. Hey, since we're in here, why don't we go grab a Cape Gunworks link. Clover had the book out. Here we know. Is this one of our videos? No. Right, so where's a link to just plain old Cape Gunworks? There we go. Oh, they have a redirect going. So if I put this up here, there we go. And then we jump into here and grab a tool. I don't know if I've ever done a gun shop before. So we did Colt and we did, we did Colt and we did High Point. So this will be a big 5-star range gun shop in Massachusetts. 27 rating, 592 backlinks, and 112 linking websites. Let's Go Shooting. I think that's NSSF. Truth About Guns, the blog. Steyr got the Top Shot Invitational. It's one of their events that they put on. It's a golf and gun thing. Robinson Armament, that's interesting. The PDN tour. Looking at some of the numbers that these things have. The Top Shot thing, the Cape Gunworks, Chamber of Commerce, Truth About Guns with a 71. Right on. So you can see the countdown. We got about 19 minutes. So I will, did I just drop a link? Yeah, I'll drop a link there. I'll probably dig into a couple of more of these backlink things and take some screen captures and do a project on that, post a blog post about it, or put it up on the spreadsheet. Wait, what's it called? The Substack. I always mix Substack and StreamYard and Spreadshirt together. So I'll put it up over there if I can get it together in a reasonable amount of time. I've got some other projects we're working on today. She-Fire's dropped a $20 super sticker. Very much appreciated. Something I've been thinking about, and let me know for people who are listening to this show either now or in the future, if you're interested in getting together and combining resources and doing some combined coaching and just collaboration type of stuff. If you're interested in something like that, check out our, I'm kind of putting it together slowly on gunchannels.com. But as you can see, some of these tools are not cheap. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get access to some of these tools, and having access to the tools is sort of nice, but it's a lot of overkill for just one channel. So I think you get what I'm talking about. So if you're interested in some coaching, I'm trying to set this up over here. But additionally, I'm trying to see if I've got a link. I don't think I've linked to it. We've got, I think there's a Gun Channels Patreon. I don't know how to find that. So I'm thinking about, I do have a Patreon, a second Patreon that we used to use for the Daily Gun Show. And I'm thinking about setting that up as a coaching club type of thing where, we bring people in and we combine some resources, money, right? And we create some monthly pile, and then we subscribe to some software that we can use, and then we bring some experts in to give us some insight and pay them for their time, so that we're getting real insight and not just public conversations. So if we have a couple of people are interested in that, maybe 5 or 6 or 10 or something, I think we could end up with a pretty interesting group. If somebody's interested, let me know, and we'll dig into more of that. And I've got this for next week. We will, I guess I can drop a link to Gun Channels over here. If somebody's got a specific coaching question though, or if you've got a project you're working on, I offer coaching. I know Clover Tack can, and we can definitely hook you up as far as whatever cost it's going to be. If there's even going to need to be cost in it. Sometimes we can just help out if it's something easy. So with that, we'll wrap this one up. And I don't have an outro for this. If anybody wants to make outros and intros for this one, feel free to give it a shot. I've had a scroll going at the bottom for the Patreon, so the ones that make it possible for us to do this. Cape Gunworks has jumped on as our first sponsor for the Daily Gun Show podcast. So we're going to say thanks to them over here as well. And we'll wrap it up with a commercial for our store. We just got the new patch machine for the people that participated in that. I did try to put an update over there with everything going on. The patch machine, first I had to set it up, and then I had to start making patches out of it. Now I've got to get some software. So it's just been a busy time. So I've been doing this in stages, but so far everything's been going, knocking on wood here. Everything's been going great. The machine, no problems with shipping or just getting here. No damage or anything like that. Set it up and it works just fine. And then no problems with it working. In fact, it is better than the last one I had in a couple of different ways. It's not just newer, but it is a better, they did upgrades to it, which are neat. But then I wanted to see if my designs worked, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be an issue, and it's no issue. The designs do work. So I've got plenty of them tested out. I don't know how many, but like dozens have printed out or sewed out or whatever. So now it's just a matter of arranging, what people want. And since I don't have like a bunch of extra time right now, I haven't gone and grabbed the software, which costs money, and then gotten into the software, but I do need to do that soon. So once I get the software again and then start playing with it, get my comfort level back with the software, then I'm making custom stuff and everything should go fine, unless I'm running into a couple of problems here and there. The exact software I was using before has changed. They've added some layers or they've just added versions so that essentially it's the same software, but the size of the patch or the size of the design, somehow they decided that is a limitation. So you can either buy it at 12,000 stitches, 40,000 stitches, or plus. And most of the stuff we do is between 20 and 50,000, of course. So it's a real dilemma. Do I spend quite a bit more money on the unlimited or the more money than last year on the 40? So that's not been a easy decision. So I've been putting it off. But either way, once the software is on the machine, I'm assuming it's the same software. I just have to get used to it again. Then we'll be sewing off some custom stuff, and that's eventually where we wanted to be with the project. But it's taken a bit of time to get there. So again, appreciate people's patience on that one. The payoff will be custom patches when it's all done. In the meantime, though, as I said, there's an update over there. People want to check it out. If you're interested in just getting stuff sooner than later, I can start sending stuff out right away for you. I'll start putting up essentially a buffet, a bunch of different pictures, or a bunch of pictures of a bunch of different patches that, like I say, I've been using as test runs, the first patches. She Fires is getting the first patch. I believe you were the first contributor to the project, so the first patch that came out of there is marked and destined going your way. So thanks for that participation. Again, thanks for the super chat today. And we do a super chat thank you. So anybody that super chats on our channels, well, I shouldn't say on our channel, because when you super chat on the gear website, on the Daily Gun Show one, I often forget about it. I'll have to start figuring out a way to tally those super chats up. There's not that many come in over there, so I tend to forget them. But the anybody that super chats on the big channel, we do a thank you super chat thank you on Fridays. So definitely She Fires is in on that. And I'll end this one. You got about 10 minutes. If you want to take a break, go get something to drink, let a dog out. I know one little dog that wants to go out. And then Rapid Fire Radio starts. I definitely encourage you to check it out. They are doing good things. And like I say, if you want to grab something over their place, use the code CloverTac, and that'll help. That'll get you a little something extra. All right. Well, till then, we'll throw a commercial out to the store, and we'll see you next week.